Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Holistic Conversations. Um, Hope you all are doing well. We have a guest with us today who is the founder of Laptop Mommas. Okay, we are in a digital age and we are having so many complaints about that, but we have advantages to it also. So we will learn more from her. Her name is Lynette Williams, and she is homeschooling her three children. That is interesting to know. And I'm really curious to know about homeschooling nowadays because it's a buzz now. It's a buzz now. So I'm really curious and looking forward to this conversation. Without any delay, I would like to bring her in. Namaste, Lynette.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to Holistic Conversations. I am really looking forward to this conversation because there's this the laptop mamas, there's
Yes.
this homeschooling, there's this walking away from new age coaching. There's so much things that we can talk about. So first, let's get to know you a little bit.
That sounds great. I love that your podcast is called Holistic Conversations because personally, I live a holistic lifestyle. So I'm very, very excited to be here. If there's anything that I can, answer or provide value on for your audience, I am happy to do that. As you've already said, I am the founder of Laptop Mommas. And so, I'm here to help women and moms just gain some traction when it comes to online digital marketing, that sort of thing, right? With social media, just really take a lot of the fear and a lot of the unknown away, because my motto is simple is sustainable and sustainable is scalable, right? And so when you distill down strategy to its simplest form, that's when you really begin to see traction. So I hope that this conversation will be exciting and educational and inspiring for your audience. And yes, I do all of this. I run my business around homeschooling. And as you said, it's a buzzword now, but when I was doing it, I promise you, when I started, it was not all glamour and glitz, right? I very much felt like an outsider, like it wasn't the cool thing to do. But since COVID, it has really taken off in popularity.
That's right. And I have been watching a few videos and podcasts about how homeschooling is taking a new, um, what do I say? New trend, you know, new trend. And I am liking it actually because there is so much unsafety in the world nowadays. And also, I want to say that not everything has a advantage. We are a combination of advantage plus disadvantage. Only thing is that we need to learn how. Sorry about that.
That's
Something
okay.
happened with the Wi-Fi. My bad.
That's okay. It happens. Advantages and disadvantages of tech, right?
That's right. And as you have said that during COVID,
Yes.
you were redirected to this homeschooling and stuff like that. Tell me a little more about homeschooling. How are you able to see the difference since you started until now? Your children's experiences, your
Sure.
experience with the outside world, their experience with social connection and stuff like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, I've been homeschooling well before I started my business. Homeschooling came first, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
so it's really all I know when it comes to educating my children. Uh, so it was interesting to get started. I definitely can sympathize with people who maybe have an interest and desire to do it, but feel really overwhelmed, feel really afraid and scared by it, right? Because that was me too. What I have learned since taking the plunge with homeschooling is that there's so much freedom in it. There's so much flexibility with it. And so if your concern is being your child's full-time sole educator, that's what curriculum is for, right? And that's what tutors are for. So you don't have to feel that pressure to be the only one teaching your child, especially in subjects that you're not very confident in. right? So that's first and foremost. Secondly, if your fear is around finding the time, if you have multiple children, how on earth are you going to educate all of them and get them all, where they need to be academics wise? Let me reassure you that, when we talk about federal guidelines for school, you only have to complete 180 days of school per year, per calendar year, and a school day counts as 3 hours of education, right? So set your mind at ease that you're not having to school 24/7 as if your child was in public school, right? Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's not what homeschooling looks like at all. You could actually homeschool 3 days a week for 90 minutes a day, and you would fulfill federal requirements. Okay. So let's take a breather. Let's step back and understand that when you decide to homeschool, you don't have to make it look like public school. Mm-hmm. So then the next question that you asked me is really one that I hear a lot, right? How are your children socialized? How do they interact with other kids, right? And how can they be a contributor to society when they become adults if you're homeschooling them?
Yes.
Well, my answer to that would be, again, the flexibility and freedom of homeschooling. We have organizations of other homeschoolers called co-ops, right? Cooperation. Mm-hmm. And so what that allows moms and children to receive is that communal, that group education, right? So we actually participate in 2 different co-ops. So 2 days a week, my children are in classrooms with other homeschool children, learning everything from music, foreign language, home economic skills, different things like sports and art, creative writing. I mean, you name it, and you can offer it as a co-op class, right? So again, the flexibility and the freedom that comes with that. So yes, they are familiar with having a teacher. They are familiar with how to behave in a classroom setting. They are familiar with learning those skills, those communication skills, the workmanship, teamwork, right? And being with other students in that classroom setting, and how does one conduct themselves, right? So if you were to meet my children, you would never even think that they were homeschooled because they are so socialized. But not only that, also a lot of people don't realize that homeschool families, your children are allowed to participate in recreational sports and anything that takes place in the public school after school hours. And so I have a daughter who is active in softball. She's able to play in our local high school team with those students. She's allowed to play. All homeschool students are allowed to participate in public school activities after school. So there's that, right? So my children are all involved in either music or sports. My other daughter is active in theater, right? Wow. And so she has a specific homeschool theater program that she goes to every single week. But in addition, she can apply and be a part of any public theater program, right? Which she does regularly. And so they are always getting mixed in with public school kids as well as other homeschool kids on the regular. So they're very socialized. So if that's something that might have been your concern, in your audience, that their concern would be, I don't want my kids to be weird. I don't want them to be so shy that they, have social anxiety because they're never around other people. It's the opposite for my kids. They rarely want to stay home and be inside. They're always asking to go places and do things.
Yeah. Can I say that it's because of the mama you are?
I mean, I'll take that. Thank you so much. But yeah, I mean, we stay busy, and I'm not going to lie. It's a huge benefit and a perk to be able to go to, museums and theme parks and take them out during the day, during the week when nobody else is there. We always have all the place to ourselves. So that's another perk, Yeah,
absolutely. And I think you have really covered everything that, you are working on them like with all their needs and exposure and what do you say, their development with their age,
Yes, it was really important to me. I took that feedback, right? I took that criticism that the objections people have, because we didn't have a lot of support when we told our families we were going to be homeschooling. We have heard every objection, right?
Yeah.
But I took that and I said, okay, this is real. This exists. How are we going to overcome? Right?
Yeah.
And so that became sort of the foundation of what homeschooling would look like for us.
Yeah. So credibility goes to you because you have taken those criticism and you have used that for your own awareness, consciousness, and advantage.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I see that you are passionate and you are like, no, I think I will do it. I can do it. Let's try, go for it, risk it, I
Yes.
think that's just fabulous. That's just fabulous.
Thank you.
And tell me in terms of financially, talk about the finances involved in homeschooling. If someone wants to start or think about it, like, how about that?
Yes. I mean, it's great. Honestly, curriculums are so affordable these days. And if your budget is really the reason why you're like, oh, I don't know, I can't afford tutors, I am going to be the sole educator for my child, that's fantastic. They actually have curriculums that you can use from your public library for absolutely free. So budget should never be the reason why you don't homeschool.
Wow, that's great. That was really good to know because sometimes we are stuck like financially, maybe we will not be able to do that. That's kind of a block. And it's good to know from you because you are already working on it. So you have quite a bit of experience. And so regarding the materials, like the books and everything, you go to the library and find books from there, or like there are specific books that you have to follow?
So there's not, again, that's the beauty of homeschooling, right? You have the freedom to teach them how you want to teach them. And that's a big reason for me why I started homeschooling, right? As somebody who loves education, like I am an educator myself. Obviously I homeschool my kids, but I also enjoy as, a digital marketing coach and course creator, I'm very much involved hands-on with adult learning, right? And so education is a huge passion of mine. And I can tell you that, yes, I started with the free curriculums at the library. And then I moved to workbooks that were less than $20 per child that covered all the basics of the entire year when they were small, all the way up through elementary school. And like I said, the books were less than $20 a piece. It covered all of their subjects for the academic year. And we got to spend the rest of the time learning hands-on, right? Taking them to museums, taking them to art shows, right? Taking them on educational field trips. There's so many places that you can utilize homeschool days that maybe your budget wouldn't allow you to go to a certain theme park any other time. But on a homeschool day, you get a very big discount. And so you can take your children on homeschool days, right? So many different things that exist for families really are out there. It's just you need to first have awareness that it even exists, right? And then you can do your research and find things. So I love for my children to learn hands-on. We love going to science museums, art museums, theme parks. I mean, you name it, I want to go and experience it with my kids.
Wow, that's really amazing. And I want to ask you also, like, how have these 5 years been for you, and what's the change that you are seeing in these 5 years? Because from COVID to today, it's been 5 years, right?
It has been 5 years from COVID to today. I actually started homeschooling in 2017. And
wow.
So I was doing it even before COVID. Like I was doing it before it was popular and trendy and all of that. What I noticed during COVID was a lot of my business friends coming to me and asking me, how are you balancing the business with homeschooling? Because they were forced into homeschooling because of COVID and schools shutting down. And they were like, I'm going crazy. I'm losing my mind because I don't know how to do both. For me, I never had that challenge so much because I was already homeschooling. So from the moment I picked up business and kind of put that hat on, I was already in the mindset of how do I run this business around homeschooling, right? Because my family and homeschooling has always been the nucleus, the center, and my business has always been on the outside, right? So that wasn't necessarily a shift I had to make as far as it being thrown on me, but it did make me aware of like, oh my gosh, this is a unique skill that I have, and the way that I manage my day and the way that I manage my time, because I was already homeschooling, was honestly something I took for granted because it's what I've always done. But
Mm-hmm.
that awareness came from others asking me repeatedly, how do I do this? How do you do it? How do you do it? And it is a balance of time. But again, the flexibility and the beauty of homeschooling allows me to manage that pretty easily. So I like to work in short, containers of work, right? Maybe like 90 minutes. Then I'll get up, I'll take a break, do something else. And then if I need to do another 90-minute session in the evening, I can do that, right? And so I plan my work around homeschooling. And it's easy for me to just take the day off and say, oh, we're going to go to the theme park today. No work, all fun and play, right?
Yeah.
And we have those days anytime we want. So it's really a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm really liking it the way you are doing it. It's like scheduled and flexibility and diverse, because you are going to so many different places. Like it's outdoor too, indoor too, and there's science, there's art, there's hands-on experience, there's books, there's no books, there's real material when you go outside to the world. So that's really amazing, and you are doing a fabulous job. I mean,
Thank you.
yeah, because nowadays I see that in school the environment is not really very safe of bully and some, I mean, distinction, differentiation, and it's not very inclusive. Sometimes I feel like that. So that's really great, and you are doing really great.
Thank you
I
so
am
much.
already feeling good that somebody is really very positive about this. And tell us something about your business. Also, I want to ask about your inner healing that you mentioned in your
Yes.
write-up. So, yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I started my business in late 2018. So we were in our second year of homeschooling. And I started with social media marketing. And most recently, in the past year or so, I have been incorporating more of the inner healing because I learned over the years that it's one thing to give the steps and the strategy and the know-how of marketing, but it's another to really look at and focus on, why are we procrastinating? Why do we have fear around public speaking? Why do we have fear around visibility, right? And a lot of times for women, we have the vulnerability of sharing our message, right? Putting our message out there, what we feel called to say and do. However, the risk of criticism, right? And haters online and all of that can really hold us back from sharing our message that has been put on our heart. And so that's kind of been the pivot and shift. And so when I talk about inner healing, I'm talking about that performance driven anxiety, right? Imposter syndrome, perfectionism, right? In addition to productivity, because that's one of the things that just comes really naturally to me, is organizing my day so that I complete the tasks that I need to complete, right? Like food still needs to go on the table. My children still need to be educated. I have
Yeah.
to have personal time. And also there's business tasks that I have to
Yes.
maintain, right? And so
Yeah.
productivity really is a big part of that as well. And what I've noticed is that our emotions can really drive our momentum. And so procrastination really comes out when we have this inner turmoil, right? And these
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
tasks, like going live on Facebook or sending an email or writing a sales page, if that feels scary to your nervous system, you're going to procrastinate on that, right? And so
Yes.
resistance takes a lot of energy. It's very exhausting. And then we lose that momentum, right? And days, weeks, months go by and we don't progress in our business. And at the same time, we're feeling down on ourselves, right? And
Yep.
we are not having inner peace because we're so full of anxiety over not accomplishing things. And you
Mm-hmm.
can stay stuck in that battle for years, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's just not a fun place to be, live. And as a
Not at all.
mom, I always say that moms are the thermostat of the home, right? And
Mm,
so if mom
yes.
is not happy, nobody's happy.
That's right.
So if you're a mom and you're feeling that inner turmoil and you're always beating yourself up and just feeling beat down by what you're not doing and not accomplishing, that's going to feed over into your children.
Yes, that's right. Wow. So, what I understand from your sharing is that you have achieved a lot of clarity with prioritizing your life, your work, your children, your family. That's what I see.
Yeah, it all begins with awareness, right? Because you can't fix or change what you don't acknowledge. So awareness is always the first step, right?
Yeah.
We can be in this pattern of rinse and repeat and never get out of it until we first realize, like, hey, I'm in this space that I don't want to be in. And from there, you can say, okay, what are the steps I need to take to get out of this? But until you have awareness that you're just not happy with where you're at, nothing changes.
That's right. That's right. That's very true. And this conversation is really becoming very holistic because you are already talking about your close people not encouraging you for homeschooling, and then still going on with what your life should be like, what you want to choose for your kids. So what do your children have to say you when they are like, I want to know from their perspective, how are they receiving it, how are they doing, what do they say, what is their feedback?
Yeah, so the thing that really is striking to me, because I'm an observer, I'm a very visual person, right? I'm just somebody who sees patterns, right? Behavioral patterns and things like that. So what I noticed with my children's behavior compared to other children that are public school, especially now that we've been doing it for so many years, and they're out of elementary, primary school, and now we're going into middle school and high school for my oldest, is their inner confidence, right? They are so much more confident than children who go to public school. And I think that's because here at home, they're allowed to be themselves, right? And nobody is bullying them. Nobody is making fun of them. Nobody is putting them down. They don't have this innate pressure of trying to fit in, right? And they're not always comparing themselves to other children and what those kids are wearing to school and what car they're driving, or what their home life is like, or what they're saying, or how they're behaving, or if they're not in the right clique. I remember going to school. I remember knowing, even though it wasn't spoken, at least I had a knowing of who the really popular kids were, who the semi-popular kids were, who the losers were. And it's so interesting to me how the social aspect of that can be unspoken, but we all have a knowing, right? And then we put ourselves in a box, and that becomes your identity. My children are completely free of that. They are free to be themselves, right? And so when they interact with other children, they don't know anything different than, this is who I am and this is how I am. And I think that's beautiful for them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So your children, like your oldest one goes to your middle school?
High
He is
school.
going to
I have a high schooler and I have 2 middle schoolers.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's really great. And I also want to ask you about what is this Laptop Mama all about?
Yeah, so Laptop Mommas really came about post-COVID. Obviously, this was just last year. It was really an inspiration to take my marketing skills that I had learned and go deeper. And what I mean by that is, one of the lessons that you learn early on in marketing is that you really can't market to everyone, because when you try to talk to everyone, you're really talking to no one, because nobody wants to feel like just another number, right? Or a faceless something. They really want to be seen. They want to be heard. And so Laptop Mommas is that community where the fringe of society, right? The homeschool moms who are at home, right? The moms who really are putting their heart and soul into their family now have a voice. They now have a platform to say, I'm doing what I feel called and led to do, but that doesn't mean that I can't run a successful business as well.
And what is your business about?
Yeah, so my business is about teaching digital marketing through ebooks, through online courses, through coaching with me one-to-one, and helping you create, develop, sustain a profitable online business without sacrificing your family values and without burning out, honestly.
Okay, wow. So you guide them to
Yes.
establish their business,
Yes.
and you also do marketing for them, or like how is it?
I used to do the marketing services, but now because my girls are getting older and we're just so much busier with extracurriculars and sports, I
Yeah.
don't do the services anymore. I teach and I educate and I coach.
Okay, wow. So you have a community.
Yes.
Okay. So this community is like confined to your geographical location, or it's like global?
Right. It's global because that's the beauty of online business, right?
Yeah.
And so some of my earliest clients, years later, I still have contact with, right?
Okay.
And I have clients and I have women in my community from all over the world. And it's just so beautiful to me, from Australia to Africa to Europe to, the United Kingdom, America, obviously, Canada, even, and it's just so beautiful how small the world becomes thanks to the internet, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's just beautiful and humbling for me to be able to relate and pour into and disciple and educate other women around the world, different cultures, different backgrounds, but we have womanhood and we have motherhood in common. And it's just so beautiful.
Wow. Okay, talking about motherhood, I want to ask you, like, how are the mamas doing in nowadays time? How are they feeling about themselves?
So they're getting better, right? They're getting better. When they come to me, they resemble who I used to be, right? Which is why I do what I do. They're overwhelmed, they're anxious, they're doubting themselves, right? They're doubting their abilities, they're just feeling burned out, they're feeling stretched too thin, right? And a big component to the work that I do is giving them permission to kind of drop the things that don't serve them, right? Sometimes that's all it takes is somebody else on the outside saying, you don't have to do this, right? The other thing that I absolutely love doing is encouraging. Sometimes they just need to hear, you're good enough, you're doing enough, right? It's amazing how much permission we think we need, right? And how much validation we think we need. But when somebody props you up and teaches you and guides you to validate yourself and encourage yourself and look at your identity and say, I am enough, I'm good enough, I am worthy, and you can really quiet those voices on the outside. You know what I'm saying? And it becomes peaceful in your mind. And when you have the peace of mind and you have inner peace, that's really when your business and your life in general can really go from surviving to thriving.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're doing a great job. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
encouraging. Yeah, no, yeah, because I feel like after having a baby or getting into that phase of life, sometimes we forget ourselves and we are so much busy with the baby and the family and everything. Like
Yes.
it's so difficult to come out of that bubble and
Yes.
find yourself again. That's a big
I felt that.
transition.
Yes, I felt that way. I got married and then I was somebody's wife. And then I had children and I was somebody's mother. And you lose yourself. You lose yourself. And so business started as an outlet for me, a creative outlet, a way to just express myself, to have something that was mine and not have to be identified as someone else's something. You know what I'm saying? It was me. It was mine. And now I help other women claim that for themselves, right? And so it's just a gift that I gave to myself that now I am paying forward.
Yeah, that's amazing, and that's I should say thank you for whatever you are doing with the mamas. And how do you think, because you are still living your family life, you're doing your business, you're taking care of your children. How would you share your views about family, having a family, and still able to see yourself as an individual who is working on their interest area, or
Yeah.
developing a business or entrepreneur, or yeah.
Well, I think we have a unique ability to be observed by our children, right? They're always
Yeah.
watching. And so I'm modeling and I'm discipling and I'm
Yeah.
training them, right? And so when they see me resting, when they see me closing the laptop, when they see me reading, right? Doing things that fill my cup, right? Taking care of myself. When we get to spend quality time together throughout the day, like we do, you know what I'm saying? It's modeling for them that it's not all about work, and that my self-worth is not about how much I accomplish in a day, which means their self-worth is not about how much they accomplish in a day, right? And so moms have this unique, really beautiful opportunity to model for their children, right? In a way that is so much more influential than anybody else will be able to influence them in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And nowadays, I want you to say a little bit about how important is a family in nowadays, as the
Oh,
world is falling apart. How important is a family?
yeah,
I will not say it in terms of uh, biological family or families with blood and genes, but community, family, bringing people together, living with a common belief and working towards your own. Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's so important. I think it's crucial, right? I think the more that times quote unquote change, the more that there is chaos in the world, I think the more important family is. And we have friends that we consider family, right? Family is not
Yeah,
just, like you said, blood and genes, but family can be people that you choose, right?
yeah,
People that you choose to be in your community. And that's what's
yeah,
so beautiful about the homeschooling community, is
yeah,
that we do have so much in common, as far as our mission and vision for our family, our
yeah,
personal convictions and values for our
yeah,
families, right?
yeah,
The homeschool community shares so much of that in
yeah,
addition to homeschooling. It's just
yeah,
beautiful. So we are a family in that sense.
yeah, yeah. In a bigger
Hmm.
perspective.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so I think you have that social exposure when you're talking about community. Like you yourself, your children can find friends over there, and they can like play with the community children in your
Yes.
community,
Oh, yeah.
and it's a good exchange of values also, like culture and value. do you
Yes.
do you also practice multicultural, and like from different parts of the world who are in your community? How is it like?
Absolutely. Absolutely. To be honest with you, my children's favorite classes at co-op are the geography classes. So what they
Wow.
do with the younger students is they learn about the different states. We're here in America, so they learn about the different states. We talk about, states' rights, state laws. We talk about, like the different foods that people eat in different states, right? But then when they get
Yeah,
older, they move up to world geography. And so now they're learning about completely different cultures in different parts of the world, right? How they live, um, how they experience life day to day, the foods that they eat. And those are honestly my children's favorite classes because they love learning about other
yeah.
people, right?
Wow.
And
Wow.
so it's, we're pouring the facts into them, but again,
Yeah,
when you let them be immersed, right? And you
yeah,
let them
yeah,
learn and you let them present and you let them
yeah,
share their voice, right? Their
yeah,
research and everything. You get to learn what's important to them. And of course, I mean, who doesn't love eating different types of food? And it's great
yeah,
if you've got picky eaters, right? It's great to introduce them to different foods and
yeah.
different things. And so it just really broadens their horizons, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's a good exposure. I would like to ask you something about your childhood.
Okay.
you want to share? What would you like to share about your childhood that you don't see nowadays, or
Sure.
you
Okay.
see more of it, or whatever,
I love this
however?
question. So, when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was a culture shift, right? And
Yeah.
I was thankful and lucky enough and blessed, really, to have my mom always be a stay at home mom. Even at that time, a few of my friends' moms still stayed at home, but more and more women in the 80s and 90s were going back to work, right? And so a
Yeah.
lot of my friends didn't have a parent at home. And I
Right.
could see, even then as a child, I could see how it was different for them than it was for me, right?
Wow. Yeah.
They were eating, like frozen meals, frozen dinners, really feeling that loss of not having a parent there. And here I was
Yeah.
coming home and having my mom there, and we always had home cooked meals, and just to have a parent at home and not
Yeah.
being alone for extended
Yeah.
hours of the day,
Yeah.
it really impressioned upon me, right, that this
Mm-hmm.
is a good thing, that this is a positive thing, that I have
Yeah.
a lot to be thankful for,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I remember being 17 years old, making the decision that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. That was ultimately my
Wow.
goal in life.
Wow.
Entrepreneurship was not a personal goal for
Yeah.
mine for a very long time. I
Yeah.
was, gosh, 2017, so that's 8 years ago. So I was 35 when I started my business, you
Wow.
know? So that was not something that I had always aspired to. But I can
Wow.
say as a child, as a teenager, I aspired to stay at home with my children because even at that young age, I could see the benefits of it.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, um, it's actually inspirational, I would say, because nowadays, a few days back, I was going through the news that many women are quitting their job because they have to resume from staying home to join their workspace. So I think it's happening because something good is going to happen. I am always feeling about that because the children's really they need their mom for at least understanding attachment, safety,
Yeah.
emotional development, and physical and social, anything. Life starts with their mother. Life starts with their
Yes.
mother being around. So
Yes.
I'm really happy that we talked about this today. And uh, we also talked about schooling, which is like I also work with children with autism, so I
Okay.
have been to uh, some home where they do homeschooling. I had a different kind of idea about why they are not going to school, why they are homeschooled, and stuff like that. They are done with 3 hours, and but they don't need to study for 8 hours actually. They can
No.
do so many other things. They can do so many other things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
true.
And
It's true.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not just with education. One of the biggest reasons why I am passionate about productivity is because studies have shown that if you are productive, 100% productivity for 3 hours a day, you actually accomplish more than you would in an
Yes.
8-hour workday,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
It's too much. We can't possibly maintain that same level of effectiveness for that
Yeah,
many
that's right.
hours, right?
Yes.
And so
And it's never
productivity,
there so much. Um, uh, I don't think it's productive for 8 hours. Not at all.
no, you can't be. It's not possible. It's not possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just not.
Yeah.
So that was a huge impact. Reading that and learning about that was a huge impact on my business.
Yeah.
That I was like, you don't have to tell me twice to throw out an 8-hour workday because I will be done with that so fast.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. And do you also like um, do only for your children, or do you do for other children also?
No, 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 just mine. Just mine.
Just yours.
To be honest with you, I much more prefer adult education, right? I think that's why I got into coaching and course creating as a business because I really am so passionate about adult education, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so I homeschool my children, but once they got old enough to be able to use the computer properly, and take self educate themselves, right? And go through their programs, I was more than happy to give that part up right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still here. I'm still home with them. They're still with me, but I
Yeah.
don't have to be their sole educator, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get to teach them. Like I said, they're learning from me by seeing how I am every
Yeah.
day, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the quality time that we spend together when we're on field trips. And
Yeah.
so I don't feel like I have to be the one solely educating them.
Okay, that's good to know. So, little bit about homeschooling is like homeschooling is only limited to um, number of children, or like you can do with the what is the guideline around that?
Yes, so you can absolutely become a homeschool teacher, mentor for other families. That
Okay.
totally exists, and you could be a
Yeah.
tutor, right?
Okay.
And educate other children. You can also be what's called an educational advisor, right? Which
Okay.
is where moms who do homeschool would have you come and visit with their children once a year to make sure that they're staying on progress with their homeschooling, right? To make
Yeah.
sure that they're learning what they need to learn. So there's so many
Yeah.
different ways that as a homeschool mom yourself, you could have a business, a side
Yeah.
business, right?
Yeah.
Helping
Yeah.
other moms with their
Yeah.
homeschooling. That's absolutely, achievable. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like for example, if I want to start my homeschool, what would you advise me?
If you wanted to start a homeschool,
Yeah.
I would advise you to, well, get involved in the local homeschool communities that are already existing, right? Go and
Okay.
visit some co-ops. Go
Yeah.
and talk to homeschool evaluators, right? Go and talk to other women who are already doing what you're doing and
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
them, what are the pros? What are the cons? What are the challenges that you faced? What's the most rewarding part about what you do, right? And ask them
Yeah.
for their recommendations.
Okay.
That's the beautiful thing about homeschooling, right? Is
Yeah.
as we put ourselves into this role of educators, we love educating. We love sharing what we know, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so everything I have learned about homeschooling that I didn't know, I have asked other homeschool moms, and they are
Okay.
more than happy to advise, right?
Wow.
And give me
Yeah.
their opinion and their feedback. And if they don't know, somebody knows, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we all help each other.
Yeah. So is it something that you have to take any licensing or anything like that?
To be a homeschool evaluator, you do need to have an education degree, right? You
Yeah.
need to be a certified teacher.
Yeah.
Um, but to just be a homeschool mom for your family, there's no credentials, there's nothing. You just simply have the desire and you
Yeah.
do it.
Wow. Isn't this amazing? Just like becoming a mom
Yeah.
doesn't need any qualification, like it's
Exactly.
a very
Exactly. Sometimes I think maybe we should. Maybe parenting classes should be required. I remember when they first dismissed me from the hospital with my oldest daughter, I had so much fear and panic. And I said, "What? This is crazy. How are they going to send us home with this newborn and we're supposed to keep her alive? I don't know what I'm doing."
Yeah.
So I would have felt more comfortable if I'd had some parenting classes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That would have made me feel more equipped. But
Yeah.
no, you don't, like
Hands
they're
on.
your children. Yeah, you're the parent. You figure it out, sink or swim, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think it's a very natural way of learning, Of course, you have friends and family around, but your experience is your sole experience, how you are doing there. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm so thankful my mom was able to come and stay with me in the first early weeks, right? And help
Wow.
me and teach me and show and cook for me while I was taking care of the baby. It was so great. Like feed the baby and I got to eat something, and
Yeah.
the dishes were done and the laundry
Yeah.
kept moving. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was like a huge, huge blessing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Yeah.
how we learn. That's how we
Yeah.
learn. And
That's
especially
right.
if you start homeschooling when your children are small, you learn as they learn. You figure
Yeah.
it out and you do it together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a together thing. It's like
Mhm.
not like a solo thing. It's because
Exactly.
they are also learning, reacting, receiving,
Yeah.
questions. So many questions they have. So that's really amazing. And as we come close to the end of the session today, what will be your message for all of us? A message that you want to share with all of us.
If you have a calling and you have a desire, but you're kind of stuck because nobody on the outside is validating you, I just want to encourage you to just keep going. You know,
Yeah.
maybe you just need to talk to somebody who's, like I said, is already doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
They will encourage you. They will validate you.
Yeah.
But don't stop just because you don't have support. I can assure you that we did not have a lot of support when it came to homeschooling from our family, from our parents, just because they didn't understand why we would do something different, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't listen to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I went to a family member who was homeschooling, and she encouraged me instead of discouraging me.
Yeah.
And so that would be my word of advice is if you're not feeling encouraged by your current community, find someone who will encourage you. Because if you have the desire, you have it for a reason, because you're called.
Wow. That's really amazing. And it was really nice talking to you. Thank you so very much for your time. And I very much liked the concept of homeschooling. And you're proving it. Keep
Oh,
doing.
thank you so much. I really appreciate this. This was fabulous to talk with you. I feel encouraged myself. Like, I mean, there's so much validation. I'm like, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good rest of your day. Thank you for being with us. Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.